Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you. First, Richard Allen was told he is one of the worst that the judge has ever seen. The Department of Justice wants to stop the lawyers for Derek Chauvin from reviewing evidence in relation to the autopsy of George Floyd. Luigi Mangione makes his appearance in court, and boy, does he get a perp walk. And porch pirates, they're pretty bold these days. And who would let this guy babysit their kids? We have This Day in Legal History and our Dumb Criminal of the Day. Let's talk about it.
Hi, lawyer.
Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. If you've joined us before, you know the rules. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that little bell for notifications. And remember, you can check us out anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. So let's get to it. We didn't do a show yesterday. Hope you enjoyed the story of justice for Peanut the squirrel, and Fred the raccoon. Go check it out. Interesting story. That's kind of an exclusive interview, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, I hope you enjoy it. I was off doing super secret, high-speed, low-drag stuff yesterday. We'll talk about it sometime maybe on our Patreon show that we do on Tuesday nights. Now, before we get to the show, listen, if you are looking for that last-minute gift, this is what you can not only give yourself, but someone in your family. And it's called a background subscription search. If maybe you just want to give somebody a background search, maybe you want to give them the whole subscription, do it, right? Maybe there's somebody coming into your friend's life you just don't like. Go do a background search on that deadbeat loser and give it to your friend for Christmas. They'll thank you for it, right? Because when you sign up for that subscription, you can do background searches on anybody here in the United States, and you're going to get a report literally while you wait of all kinds of information. Who do they associate with? What are their emails? What are their phone numbers? Why do they have 10 different emails? Why do they have all these phones that I don't know about? Very interesting. Do they have a criminal history? Are they on a sex offender registry? Yes, those things, maybe they're not going to tell you at first. Go check them out. Maybe you want to help your family member, your boyfriend, your girlfriend from making the wrong choice of hanging out with a deadbeat loser. Go to crimetalksearch.com and prove it that they're a deadbeat loser and give it to your friend. All right? Let's go ahead and open the record for Friday, December 20th, 2024. That's right, Richard Allen, the man who murdered Delphi teenagers Liberty German and Abigail Williams, is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, Judge Francis C. Gull sentenced Richard Allen to 130 years in prison Friday morning following a brief hearing during which family members and investigators shared their emotional testimony about the horrific nature of the crime and strongly urged the judge to impose the harshest sentence possible. Now, Allen, who was charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of felony murder, which is murder committed in the act of another crime being committed, those counts basically merged together because it was the same conduct and it's just duplicative. So therefore they merge for sentencing purposes. It's almost like they're being dismissed, but they become, the 4 becomes the 2. Anyway, Richard Allen received the maximum sentence of 65 years for each to run consecutive, which means one after the other. So once he is done serving the first 65-year sentence, and since he's 52 years old, and he's probably going to have to serve about 85% of that, he's probably going to die in prison before he gets to serve the next 65-year sentence. Consecutive, one after another, versus a concurrent sentence where they would run together. One sentence for 65 years, 130. Anyways, the reason why he can only get that was because the prosecutors had not sought the death penalty in this particular case. Now, Richard Allen's wife, Kathy, was not in court to witness her husband getting sentenced to 130 years in prison. And Judge Gull dismissed the defense contention that the hardship his imprisonment would cause his wife should be considered as a mitigating circumstance. Remember, a mitigating circumstance is not a defense, but it's anything that may possibly persuade the judge or the prosecutor to ask for a lesser sentence or to impose a lesser sentence. The judge says, oh no. Now, when Judge Francis C. Gull ultimately addressed Allen, she says, listen, Mr. Allen, I've been a criminal court judge for 27 years and I've presided over the most hideous cases in the state of Indiana during that time. Judge Francis Seagull told Mr. Allen, you rank as one of the most hideous. You are right up there. You rank up there right next to the extraordinary impact your actions have had on these families and the generational impact as well. She said, the families will deal with your carnage forever, and you sit here and roll your eyes at me as you have rolled your eyes at me repeatedly during this trial. Well, when Mr. Allen was asked if he had anything he would like to say before the final sentence was imposed, Mr. Allen said no. Then he was let off by the deputies. Now, earlier in the hearing, the court heard from 6 of Libby and Abby's relatives, as well as a lead investigator, Jerry Holloman, who described the girls' murders as one of the most brutal cases he had ever worked in his career. Now, obviously, there's going to be an appeal in this case. We'll see what comes of that. We have to wait and see. Sometimes I hate saying that. But, you know, the defense gave it their best, but now Richard Allen is convicted of killing Libby and Abby, and he'll have to deal with that. I think for his New Year's resolutions, Mr. Allen's resolutions should be to probably try to stay alive. Start sucking it up, man. Start sucking it up. There's no crying in prison and saying you're going to hurt yourself. You saw where that got you, Mr. Allen, beforehand. Listen, you've been convicted. You're going to appeal it. I get it. You proclaimed your innocence. Your attorneys have as well. I get that. Now comes the time you got to go pay the piper. New Year's resolution, probably stay alive. Stay alive. Next on the docket, Derek Chauvin matter is back. That's right. The Department of Justice has requested that a lower court block an attempt by Derek Chauvin's lawyers to re-examine George Floyd's heart. So federal prosecutors in Minnesota filed a motion the other day asking the judge to reconsider his decision to allow Chauvin's legal team to look at George Floyd's heart tissue and bodily fluids, among other evidence, to prove whether he was actually died from a heart condition and not Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck. Now, the day before, U.S. District Court Judge Paul Mangsom ruled that the former police officer's team could examine the deceased man's autopsy report. Prosecutors from the United States District Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota argued the request stems solely from an email that Derek Chauvin received from an unvetted doctor offering a weaker version of the medical defense than the version that the jury had previously rejected at the state trial. Now, the doctor is a doctor from Kansas, a forensic pathologist, a guy by the name of William Schatzel. He apparently contacted Derek Chauvin's team after he had entered his guilty plea in federal court. And he was proposing that Floyd did not die due to the officer kneeling on his neck for several minutes. Now, Chauvin's latest bid to have his conviction tossed cites ineffective assistance of counsel from the original defense attorney, Eric Nelson, whom he says failed to relay to him this pathologist's theory that Chauvin did not cause Floyd's death. Well, the Minnesota prosecutors argued that Chauvin's team choosing not to examine Floyd's heart at trial was simply a strategic decision that courts have recognized as virtually unchallengeable. So what that really means is that obviously Derek Chauvin gets convicted in state court. Then he gets charged in federal court for violating the civil rights of George Floyd. He's thinking about going to trial. Attorneys say, hey, you lost once. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do any better this time. Why don't you take the deal? It's concurrent. You'll be in federal custody. It'll be better time, even though you get stabbed like 21 times while you're in custody, so maybe it won't be that good a time. Anyway, in the meantime, this pathologist says, hey, I'm an expert in this area. I believe that George Floyd died of a heart condition, and it wasn't a result of your conduct. Chauvin saying, hey, my attorney should have explored this. I would have wanted to go to trial if I was aware of this information, and therefore give me a new trial. The judge says, hey, it's ineffective assistance. I can't really make a complete record until we know what happened, so I'm going to allow the court, the court then says, I'm going to allow the defense attorney and this doctor to review this information to see if there is a viable claim. Why? Because the doctor had never looked at it personally. He's looked at stuff that was available online. And so now the doctor gets to take a look at it. He can come to his conclusion. He's going to say, yes, I still believe I'm correct. Or he's going to say, Yeah, maybe I'm not, but at least then the judge can take a look at it and say, did the guy have a viable defense or did he not? Now, of course, it opens a whole other can of worms. If it was, in fact, a viable defense, maybe Derek Chauvin will be back in trial in federal court. Then, of course, he can raise ineffective assistance of counsel on the state court charges as well on the same issue. Sometimes these big cases never, ever go away. I think I told you way back when, a couple of months ago, I had to testify in a case that I tried 17 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. 17 years ago. Sometimes this stuff never ends. You know a case that will never end? Luigi Mangione. That's right. Luigi Mangione ditched his jailhouse jumpsuit for a little more fashionable ensemble when he appeared in Manhattan federal court on Thursday. Now, the 26-year-old suspect killer had been seen wearing his prison outfit when he left Pennsylvania state court earlier in the day, and he sported a clean-shaven look with a fresh haircut and apparent eyebrow trim as well. But when he appeared in New York and in court to face murder charges for the December 4th shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Mangione was seen wearing a white button-down shirt, navy three-quarter zip pullover, and khaki pants. Now, the alleged accused murderer was indicted on charges of murder in an act of terrorism earlier this week under the New York state law that allows for stiffer sentences when a killing is aimed at terrifying civilians or influencing government officials. I think it's overcharged as it relates to the terrorism counts. They should just go with count 3, which is basically second-degree murder. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, apparently, many people throughout the country have expressed their support for Mr. Mangione, who's received 54 emails, 87 pieces of mail, and 163 deposits into his commissary account while he was in Pennsylvania. That's obviously what they use to buy unhealthy food and things like that when people are in custody, because it's better than the jailhouse slop that they get. Anyway, the attorneys representing Mr. Mangione in Pennsylvania gun charge had also claimed that he declined offers from strangers to pay Mangione's legal bills, as his supporters have now raised up to $100,000 for his legal defense fund. Anyway, the alleged CEO killer, Mr. Mangione, spent his first night back in the Big Apple under the same New York City federal prison as Sean P. Diddy Do It Combs. Now, the two inmates, who are both awaiting trial for their respective federal cases, are locked away at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, and Mangione agreed to be extradited just hours earlier from the Blair County, Pennsylvania jail, where he had been held since he got arrested at McDonald's there in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now, the Baltimore native landed at the Long Island MacArthur Airport before being flown into Manhattan Thursday afternoon, landing at the South Street helipad from where authorities transported him. Now, seriously, the man is accused of killing one person, and he gets all of this? I mean, it looks like a parade, not a perp walk. And can somebody explain to me why the mayor is walking behind him? It looks like something out of a movie. I actually saw a meme that made it look like it was something out of Batman when the Joker was being escorted in. Unbelievable. I think everybody's getting this a little carried away. Everyone's getting a little carried away when it comes to this. Anyway, Mangione faces an 11-count indictment, which has charges by state prosecutors for the December 4th fatal shooting of the CEO, Brian Thompson, outside of the Hilton there in Midtown. Now, he is due to return to Pennsylvania on February 24th for a preliminary hearing over criminal charges in the Keystone State. I'm a little surprised Pennsylvania is going forward with their charges. I really am. And they may be dropped between now and then. It seems like the murder case is obviously much bigger problems that Mr. Mangione is going to have to deal with. So like I said, Mr. Mangione is in the same facility as Combs, P. Diddy Combs. There's no indication of, in fact, whether they're rooming together, but I doubt it. But Mr. Mangione, through his attorneys, obviously said he's not guilty. We'll give him the presumption of innocence, and has Mr. Combs as well. Next, bold moves captured on Ring. A pair of twerking porch pirates returned to the scene of the crime to whine about the revealing Ring doorbell footage the victim posted online. Now, these two masked thieves were caught on video stealing packages from Sicklerville, New Jersey, a home there, before twerking for the victim's Ring doorbell camera. Now, the footage later posted to the Ring neighborhood apps safety and security feature shows the brazen thieves running up to the Independence Square townhouse just before 6:30 p.m. on December 9th. One suspect can be seen nabbing a package from the front stoop as the other bent over, flashing a partially clothed behind to the camera and twerked before they both fled off. The stolen packages included drinking glasses and baby items that valued $74. Just 2 days after the theft, a lone porch pirate returned under the cover of night and face mask and hoodie to the scene and complained over scandalous footage that the victim posted online. "Come on, dude. Not cool, bro. Come on, not cool," the hooded thief said, inching closer and closer to the camera. "That's my ass on the internet," the person said. Only 10 minutes later, the suspect returned to the front stoop, holding one of the stolen items, a broken glass, placing it carefully in front of the house before running away. I meant to give this back," the alleged thief said on the camera. Now, the Gloucester police have since issued their own statement regarding the theft, warning locals about the porch pirates and offering their own take on the incident. This video release titled, "You Can't Make This Stuff Up." They must be watching Crime Talk. It was a Crime Stoppers exclusive, offered a video account of the incident, coupled with a humorous written account of the naughty thievery. The Gloucester Township Police are still looking to identify the two individuals in the video. Can't make this stuff up. We had it first, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make this stuff up. It's called the Dumb Criminal of the Day. Next on the docket, would you let a 34-year-old man be the babysitter of your kids? I don't know. I'd probably go to crimetalksearch.com before I did, though. Anyway, as it turns out, a 34-year-old man will be spending more than 3 decades behind bars after pleading guilty in a child abuse investigation in Washington County there in Oregon. So take a look at him. Brian James Heading pled guilty on December 16th to 4 charges related to abuse of 3 minors. He was then ultimately sentenced to 35 years in prison. I wonder what his New Year resolutions are going to be while in custody. Stay alive? Probably, yeah. Anyway, Mr. Hennings began abusing 2 children while he was working as a babysitter. Back in August of 2023, the district attorney's office says when the mother of the children learned of the abuse, she confronted Mr. Hennings and he admitted to molesting the kids. The mother contacted the police and experts interviewed the children, who provided more details, including the fact that Mr. Hennings had recorded one of the victims during the act of the abuse. When police finally interviewed Mr. Hennings, he admitted to abuse. During a search of his apartment, the district attorney's office said investigators found evidence corroborating the victim's statements as well. The district attorney's office says investigators forensically analyzed Hennings' phone and found evidence of sexual abuse of a 3rd child. Well, Mr. Hennings is going to be transferred to the Oregon Department of Corrections to begin that 35-year sentence. And I think it's going to be a long next 35 years for Mr. Henning. Lady, I'm telling you, not trying to sound like, I'm just telling you, this is what I've done for 30 years, okay? Be very careful about people that are going to be around your children. I'm not trying to sound like a prosecutor. I'm trying to sound like a defense attorney who has seen it all, that would be giving you advice like I was giving it to my children. Be very careful of the people that hang out with your children. Be very careful of who you let be around your children. Have I made that clear? If there's anything you take into the new year. All right, next on the docket, this day in legal history. In 1898, the United States v. Wong Kim Ark. The United States Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment grants citizenship to individuals born in the United States regardless of their parents' nationality. This is a landmark decision, obviously affirmed the principle of birthright citizenship, which is at issue now. As you may know, most countries, you don't get citizenship if you're on vacation and you happen to have a child born there. No, citizenship is based upon your parents' citizenship. Obviously, 1898, that changed. I guess it could be changed just as quickly if the Supreme Court revisited that issue. We'd have to wait and see. Sounds complicated. Then, on this day in legal history, December 20th, 1956, the Montgomery bus boycott ends. The 381-day Montgomery bus boycott concluded after the United States Supreme Court declared segregation of public buses unconstitutional, marking a significant victory in the civil rights movement. And then on December 20th, 1989, Manuel Noriega, remember him? Panama? He was indicted. That's right. Following the United States invasion of Panama, Manuel Noriega was indicted on drug trafficking and racketeering charges, leading to his eventual trial and conviction. And I believe he was ultimately sent away sometime long before, maybe died in prison. I just don't recall. Anyway, on this date, December 20th, 1893, Georgia became the first state in the Union to pass a law against lynching, marking the first act punishable by 4 years in prison. Now, it wasn't particularly effective because they had a lot of lynchings in the South. So at least they tried, but it didn't quite work, so to speak. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Two family members were arrested on Tuesday after they allegedly stole items from an outlet mall and then ran from police while pushing a baby stroller. Nestor Williams Farias Suarez of Kissimmee, Florida, is facing child neglect and resisting officer charges without violence charges. And according to the Orange County Sheriffs, Farias Suarez and his cousin, Maureen Jaime Suarez, were seen attempting to remove theft devices from clothing at a Hugo Boss store at the Orlando Vinland outlets. The two ran out of the store without paying for the items. The police deputies followed them as they ran across the parking lot away from the mall. During the chase, the sheriffs said an infant fell from the stroller and hit their head. Well, the baby was taken to the hospital, but was found not to be injured, thank goodness. But those two idiots were shoplifting with a baby in the stroller and then dropped the baby, ladies and gentlemen. You'd think there would be a little more significant charges other than theft, maybe a child abuse thrown in there, at least a misdemeanor child abuse. Anyway, you two, you are a dumb criminal of the day. Congratulations. You may want to add that to your New Year's resolution as well, not to take things that don't belong to me. There's a good one. All right, that's all we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful weekend. I know a lot of people will be traveling for the Christmas holiday next week. So if we don't see you, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time on Crime Talk. And remember, the Constitution matters.